Welcome, this is Thomas from Shoreline Aquatics. In this video today, I was going to show you guys how I treat my fish in quarantine and how to get them nice and cleaned up so they don't get my fish in my display tank sick. So here those guys are this morning. This is the tank that I'm using right here. It is 55 gallons, it's bare bottom. I have it filled to about 40 gallons in volume. Pretty much everything I'm going to talk about here is going to be in the metric system. We're going to switch off gallons just because it's hard to calculate into that, and I calculate everything here. So let's see if we can get these guys eating. Here comes Mezzanata. Oh, here they are. And look at that. These are nice, fat, healthy fish. So I'm really happy. I got good fish. Some of the fins are torn. It's no big deal. And if they don't start to heal back later, once the fish are totally good, I'll show you how to fix that too. So very, very important is when I feed them dry, healthy, dry food. You know, because when I'm trying to clean them up, I don't want to add something else, right? So let's just give them dry, healthy food. This is the food I'm using here. It's just Vita Complete aquarium food. It's really good, healthy food that I've had great results with. So I'm going to start my quarantine after the fish have felt recovered very well with a potassium permanganate bath. So this is available on Amazon, very, very inexpensive and very accessible. Using this potassium will strip external parasites and also some bacteria off of our fishes. And it reacts to everything organic inside the environment. So my quarantine tank is bare for that reason. When I use this, if there's dirt and leaves and fecal matter and detritus, that's going to react with this potassium. So when you use it, it's going to go in purple, and that's when it's effective. If it turns brown, if it reacts and turns brown, that's when it oxidizes into organic material and becomes ineffective after that. I measure everything here with a milligram scale. My in the bath tank dosage for a bare bottom tank is 5 milligrams per liter. I add this directly to the tank and I put aeration and I soak the fish for about 4 hours. In this time, you might see the fish scratching and feel some signs of irritation. That's actually probably the signs of the animals on their body moving in reaction to this medication that's killing them. So the fish are totally fine. Near the end of the treatment, I have my water changing gear ready. I usually change most of that water out. And after that, you're going to see it be a little bit of pink still in there. And after that, this is what I add next. It's just from the Walgreens or Safeway hydrogen peroxide. And I add that into the tank at 25 milligrams per liter. And what you're going to see is over the next 30 minutes or so, you're going to see the water clear up. And it's not just to clear up your water. Even if you're doing a dip, you see some people on YouTube doing dips on their fish. It's important that after the dip that you add hydrogen peroxide a little bit to your tank or to the bucket after the dip, because what happens is there's a lot of the oxidation of the organic material, the brownness, and that clogs the fish's gills. So when you see fish lay down on the floor after treatment, that's what's going on. They're having a hard time breathing because of that brown gunk that builds up. This hydrogen peroxide will totally neutralize that and get the fish breathing well again. So this is super, super important. After the potassium dip and everything's neutralized, I like to let the fish just chill, you know. You're going to see a lot of gassing in the water and the fish need to calm down. After things tend to settle, sometimes I offer some food. So before I go on to move on to anything else, I mean, that was a pretty harsh scrubbing on the fish, and it's a good idea for the relaxation now. So my recommendation after the potassium dip is to wait a day and just let them hang out and relax, give them some food. And after that, what I'm going to do is, depending on the location of where the fish came from, let's say these are South American Orinoco fishes, right? I will slowly buffer this water in the tank down to, let's get down to the conditions that are closer to what they involved in. So what I do is I slowly buffer down using acids to about pH 5.0. And so I put that in current away from them, and I get it down there within about 30 minutes or so, and it's no issue. So let's just say that you were doing a treatment and you had frontosas, wild frontosa cichlids, right? It's like, to do the same thing, we would add the cichlid salts or the equivalent bicarbonate and carbonate and stuff like that, and you would bring the pH up, right, to like, probably 8.5 or 9. Anyway, getting the fish to the water that they involved in is going to be beneficial to them. If you guys want to learn more about buffering down, I think that would probably deserve its own video. So if you really want to see that, leave it down in the comments below, and we'll work on some of the considerations and some of the techniques and tactics that I use with that. Now, the potassium dip at the beginning should have taken care of skin and gill flukes, but also Prosi-Quantel takes care of tapeworms, and it's really just a specified fluke killer. Other than that, what happens is when we put these fish in our tank is that while they're resting that day, they're probably covered in these types of worms, and they're laying eggs, and it's going all down into the tank. And these eggs are unaffected by the meds, so the fluke larva can come up, and what they do is they come back and stick onto the fish. So that life cycle, I believe, is like 4 to 5 days. It takes a little bit of time for those worms after that to probably sexually mature. But anyway, a week between wormer treatments is usually pretty solid. So now, if these fish are starting to look stable and they look comfortable, after that, I'm going to go ahead and continue to work on blanket treating these fish for internal parasites. My go-to medicine for this is flubendazole. And I've tried different things, and I've had successes and failures with other things. But this stuff is called Absolute Wormer. Sometimes they got one, it's called Kusuri, and it comes out of the UK. I think it's designed pretty much for koi ponds and stuff like that. I've had great success with it, and I just follow the directions on the package, and it's very, very weak. It'll probably be like in your tank, 0.1 milligrams per liter, but I found it to be very, very effective. There's some other meds out there that I've seen that claim to be flubendazole, and there's some black market stuff out there that I've actually used before, and I've had problems where I had to retreat, and so I just quit messing around with that. So levamisole would probably also be a good alternative. I think there's some products out there in your store. There's levamisole is made by, I think Fritz has some stuff like that, and that stuns the worms, and then the fish can expel them from the body. But flubendazole it actually kills everything is worm related. So this is a great medicine. So after the flubendazole treatment, I let them relax again. I feed them a little bit, and I'm going to evaluate their health. So at this point of the game, I have, and I didn't mention this before, these fish probably like warmer water, into the 80s, and I'm kind of keeping them at maybe 77 or 78 right now. And I accepted them like that. I'm kind of holding them like that because they're sort of on a transitional moment where I'm evaluating them for the possibility of damage and bacterial disease. But these fish have no signs about that at all. So my tactic going forward now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to attack internal protozoans. When you see blackwater fishes, they have a disease that's called hole in the head disease, lateral line erosion. And what causes this is a protozoan parasite called spironucleus. I think it used to be called hexameta. Now it's called spironucleus. Anyways, this is what destroys that. This is metronidazole. So super, super important. Satanoperca daemon, Apanda uaru, things like that that are very prone to this disease. We're going to try to eradicate this disease. And I have theories about that too. When we're talking about full eradication of spironucleus, is it even possible? I think it is possible. Is my treatment, the way I'm going to do it here, going to get all spironucleus? Well, there's only one way to tell, and that's if we cut a fish open and we could look at the intestines on our microscope and we can see these brown parasites moving. And I tell you, I'm not going to do that. And the reason being is that I believe also that these parasites can live with the fish. They have in the wild, right? What's up with that? So these fishes have this in their bodies in the wild. And why doesn't it destroy them in the wild? Because in the wild, they're in such a perfect condition that they've adapted to for millions of years. Anyways, it's going to attack these protozoans because probably as they were traveling and stuff, their body was weaker and these protozoans could have gotten the upper hand. So there could be more of these inside the fish's body than we would want. So they're more prone to be infected if we don't treat them. So I'm going to run the metronidazole. I'm going to use 8 milligrams per liter. I put it in water when the fish are solid, right? There's no bacterial infection or anything. And I will crank up the heater, and I'll crank it up to about 90 degrees. I'll add the calculated amount of metronidazole to the water. And what I'm going to do next is in 24 hours, I am going to, remember I already changed their water to match their conditions. I'm going to get a container of water and I'm going to buffer it to the desired level, which here, I'm going with pH 5.0. And I bubble that and I'll change the water out with hot, warm, fresh buffered water. And after I'll add the treatment again, and I will do it for 10 days. Now, I told you already I'm going to run Prosi, right? So Prosi is every week. So I decided I'm going to run that about a week after the flubendazole treatment. I saw other medicines have Metro and metronidazole and praziquantel together. So I know that's safe. So that's another thing as well, mixing medicines, careful. I don't do it, but if I saw someone do it, I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. We're going to overlap the treatment. Praziquantel doesn't need to sit in the water long. I found it to be an appetite suppressant. So the fish don't eat as much and they don't recover as fast when it's in the water. So I always, even if, let's just say I'm not running Metro first, I'm running praziquantel, and I have that, and I decided that the fish were not stable enough to heat up the water to 90. When I run the Prosi, I leave the Prosi in there the day before I decided to change the water anyway. So that keeps the fish eating and healthy and growing and strong so they can recover. So here's our tank here, and here's what I got going. I always have a piece of tape and I write my program on there. What happened when, and I'm going down, you can see the M, I'm starting the Metro, which is done. Done through the 13th, and the 2, I'm going to run 2 praziquantel treatments, and then 2 weeks after that even, I'm going to hit flubendazole one more time, and that's a Hail Mary shot. That's going to blanket treat any other type of worm and vertebrates, internal and external. It's going to Hail Mary shot that, and by the end, these fish should be ready to go into my display tank. I'm not going to dissect them or hurt them or anything like that. After that, I can consider them pretty safe to go. And you can see they're pretty healthy and doing well. If you look at my Satanoperca daemons, there's an odd one out. Look at that one on the right without the 3 spots. So other than not having those 3 spots, it kind of has blue fins. I don't know what kind of Satanoperca that is. And there's a lot of others. It could have came in on the same import. Sometimes I know exporters, they mix the fish around. They get some odd ones out. But I'm not sure. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to treat them all the same. So it is what it is, And so in my tank, we're going to see one that's different. Different species. There he is in the middle there. Could I have just treated my fish before they even got to the tank and just give them a really strong potassium dip? And the answer is yes. But the thing is, when the fish are just coming after a couple of days of travel, that's extremely stressful for them. So sometimes I think it's better. I'll lose more medicine and I'll let the fish chill out first before I start to do some of these harsh treatments on them. So that's why I don't do that. If I picked up fish locally, like say, let's just say someone gave me some fish and I wanted to give them a potassium dip before they came in the house, I would do that to those fish. But fish that have been traveling, they probably were starved at the shipping facility where you bought them from for 2 days before they got them. They were handled by UPS, thrown around on an automated system. That's why I don't start all this process. I wait usually a day and I evaluate their condition before I start all these processes. And let's say if the fish were to come from Colombia, which actually might happen soon, that's a completely different even scenario then. So those fish even underwent more and more stress. A potassium dip is the last thing you would want to do on them as soon as they arrived. So my best bet is to let them chill And I'll just use the meds and I'll thoroughly get rid of all these parasites. And that's what I got for you guys today. I calculate everything down to the milligram. You know, I don't mess around. I don't freehand throw things in. I don't measure by the spoonful. That's just not me. So leave you guys comments down below, and hopefully I can get these fish cleaned up right and we can see them grow into big, amazing fish. And my plan is you guys follow me, and I'm going to teach you guys everything I know, and hopefully that people can start enjoying more of these difficult type Orinoco river fishes in their tank. How do you support me? Well, you know, I sell fish. I sell fish food, right? But, you know, I understand that's quite a large commitment, and some of you guys aren't in this area to do that. Totally get it. You don't have to buy anything from me. But if you guys want to leave a comment, you want to like, or you want to subscribe to the channel, I super appreciate it. You guys, happy fish keeping.